Hello, my name is Felix. Welcome to this second AGO webinar. We would like to thank the AGO for once again giving us the opportunity to show you different programs from our software family. Just like the last video, unfortunately this had to be pre-recorded because of the different time zones. It would be too difficult to schedule a live webinar. However, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the comment section or send us an email. We would be more than happy to address your questions in a follow-up webinar. So this is the agenda for today. I will show you the new features of Capella 10, our music notation software. Then Dominic will demonstrate how you can compose with tonica fugata. In our last video, we already did a short segment on this. Today, we will take a more detailed look. And at the end, I will show you how you can use Audio to Score to transcribe audio files and create adaptations for piano and organ. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is our music notation software, Capella 10. Before I go into the new features, I would just like to show you some basic functions. For example, entering notes, quite basic, and actually with Capella, quite simple. You can enter notes by just typing the name of the notes with your keyboard, for example, like this. You can also change the value of the notes, of course. You can, for example, use the key 8, number 8, to enter eighth notes, and the 2 for half notes, and the 1 for whole notes. If you want to enter a rest, you can do that just the same, and you can change the value of the rests as well with the numbers. Another popular way to enter notes is by using the mouse piano, this one on top right here. As you can see, there are 3 different zones on each key. It's like white, grayish, and then white again. Those represent values. So if I have the quarter note selected, for example, each key can enter either a half note or a quarter note or an eighth note, like so. And if you want to enter a rest, you can just do the same, but with the right mouse button. Of course, there are many more functions to the program, but for today we wanted to focus on the new features, which are, for example, graphic pages. Graphic pages is an exciting new feature in Capella 10. It enables you to insert graphic pages like cover pages, lyrics pages, anything that doesn't have any notes on it. So you can create a whole songbook just within Capella. We do see a graphic page right now. You see like a title and then a rounded, like with round edges, a rectangle, and like a logo down here, of course. If you want to add a graphic page, you can simply go on Insert Graphic Pages, and you insert a blank page. That's how it looks for instance. And then you can just insert a graphic, for example. Let's insert this one here. What I wanted to show you is that it's very easy to align those because we have all these alignment tools. Like, for example, we can align in the middle horizontally or vertically like this. And we can also let it snap to one edge. You see it snaps to the edges. Even if when I enlarge it, it will snap to the edge, which makes it super easy to just create something decent looking. And then, for example, I could also insert a geometric object like the rectangle that we saw before. That's like a rounded off rectangle. Let's see how this looks. Yep, and also we can align it like so. And we can change the color of that, of course. We can even pick color off screen. That is also very useful. Let's see, we want maybe the red of this coat. We could just do it like this. Yeah, that's basically all for graphic pages. As I said, very useful to create songbooks, etc. Another very useful feature we introduced when we released Capella 10 was the comfortable voice extractions. Now, what does that mean? If you have a score with, for example, 4 voices right here, you can simply click on Extras, create all voice extractions, and you will have 4 individual scores right here for each voice. There might be slight collisions, which you can simply get rid of by clicking on the little exclamation marks, and then everything looks a-okay. Yeah, and then what you can do is you can extract those to PDF and print them out, send them to your colleagues, whoever needs the score. Okay, I think that pretty much covers it when it comes to Capella 10 for today. Now Dominic will tell you more about how you can compose with tonica fugata.
Hello, my name is Dominic and I will guide you through the tonica world. So what is tonica? Tonica is our AI-based composition software. It has a focus on classical and tale music, but it also supports jazz and the pop harmonization style and dance-style accompaniment patterns. You can imagine tonica as a kind of musical toolbox that solves and provides support for many practical compositional tasks like harmonization, harmonic analysis, figured bastardization, and much, much more. I will show you some of them in the following. One last remark before we're starting. The addition fugata in tonica fugata comes from its ability to compose fugues from a given subject. So let's dive into the software. We are starting with the most prominent use case where you want to add accompanying voices to a given melody. If you already have the melody as a file, for example as a music XML or MIDI file, you can use the composition wizard in the start screen to create your score in just a few steps. Tonica has been trained on simple chorale-like melodies, but you can use it to harmonize any melody. I have chosen a well-known melody and would like to harmonize it in the style of Johann Sebastian Bach and in a modern style. The next step is to split the melody into phrases. This is important to get good results. You can do this by setting fermatas or let tonica determine a phrasing automatically. In the Compose tab, we select a desired instrumentation, for example, organ, and a harmonization style, for example, Bach 1. Actually, we have 2 Bach styles that have been trained with different Bach compositions. Then we click the Compose Piece button. Now the composition process starts. It's first creating a pure harmonization and then realize these harmonies as chords. And finally, it will add passing notes to the resulting score. So let's hear the results. For a modern harmonization, we now select pop as the harmonization style and recompose again. As you see in the tab, you have many compose options to get different results. For example, you can influence how typical harmonic patterns, so-called cadences, are inserted. These cadences are displayed in color in the resulting score. Next, we adjust the score layout in the Layout tab. For example, you can select a different paper size. And finally, we will export the score in our desired format, for example, as a PDF file. So now we have printed out the composition as a PDF. If you want to further edit the result, you just click the Edit button here in the button. This will take you to the main program where you have access to all composition and analysis functions in the so-called composition assistant. There are two analysis functions, analysis and check, to analyze a composition. They may also be useful for educational purposes. Tonica fugata performs harmonic analyses and checks your score for rule violations, for example, the prohibition of parallel fifths. We will now perform an analysis on a Bach chorale. We first select the check icon, and then we click the check score button. As you can see, Tonica has done a complete harmonic analysis. The result can also be displayed in other harmonic representations, for example, in Roman numeral or in a Riemann functional notation. Rule violations are displayed in red, errors, and blue, warnings. Tonica finds some rule violations that Bach has not observed, for example, an antiparallel motion in measure 3. To see more details, we hover or right-click on one of the red notes. More information, more details about the rules and rule violations can be found in our manual. We can now let Tonica correct the rule violation for the second phrase using correct voice leading. We first select current phrase, and then we right-click on one of the red notes and select correct voice leading. As we can see, Tonica has eliminated the rule violation. In Baroque music, you sometimes have figured basses that need to be realized as chords. Tonica fugata creates piano score realizations of figured basses. Here's a movement from a Handel flute sonata. The score has a flute melody and a harpsichord part with figured bass notes only. To realize the continuo part, we select the figured bass icon, and then we click the Realize Figured Bass button. Tonica has created a complete harpsichord accompaniment from the figured bass line. Let's just play back the beginning. As you can see in the composition assistant, Tonica offers much more composition functions. Create variations in the style of a Bach preludium or Pachelbel partita. Create accompanying patterns in several dance and pop music styles. Create canons and fugues based on a subject. I will illustrate this by creating a fugue from a two-measure subject. Let's create a 5 voices organ fugue from this small subject. Here's the resulting fugue. The window illustrates the fugue structure and follows it during playback. With tonica 17, we have introduced a new compose function that creates musical dice games. Musical dice games were invented at the end of the 18th century to produce simple pieces of music, for example, waltzes, polonaises, minuets, by rolling dice. I will conclude my presentation with the Mozart waltz created by Tonica Fugata. Thank you very much for your interest.
Thank you, Dominic. Now, as a last item on our agenda, I would like to talk to you about Audio to Score. Audio to Score is our music recognition and transcription program. It can transcribe classical music, jazz, also pop songs, because in its newest version, it can even recognize vocals. And as if this wasn't enough, Audio to Score can also create adaptations. So you could transcribe an MP3 file of a pop song, for example, and create piano adaptations for you. I will show you how in a minute, but first of all, I would like to show you how Audio to Score can assist you in creating musical arrangements, another very interesting feature. So let's get started. Okay, so for this part, I would like to transcribe a piano solo and create an adaptation for a brass quartet of my choosing. First step is starting the recognition. I will open the MP3. Since this is a piano solo, I choose the recognition piano only. And let's go. Okay, now let's listen to the recognition as it is. Actually, let's listen to the original first. Okay, and now I will use this slider down here. You see it down here, to listen to the recognition. Okay, now this is jazz, so obviously not every note is rhythmically 100% precise. This was to be expected, but we will fix this when we go into the arrangement. Now, the first step for me is to change the instrumentation from piano to brass quartet, and then I will switch to the main program. So up here you see the sound tissue. Those are all the recognized notes. And to the left you see our current instrumentation. Now for me the first step is to change this instrumentation to my needs. This will take a while, so I will skip forward. Okay, so as you can see on the left side in this system template, I've changed the instruments to flute, trumpet, baritone saxophone, and tuba. And now I can start the arrangement. I can edit notes up here in the sound tissue or down here in the preview. And let me give you an example. I will not show you every step of making this arrangement because this would take too long. I just wanted to demonstrate some key functions. For example, I can simply delete this tuba note and this one as well. And maybe I would like the tuba to play a very long note. This is not a problem. I can simply drag this note. And as you can see down here, I don't have to worry about the rests because Audio to Score does that automatically. Yes. Another thing you can do is assign instruments, like if you have a note that should be played by another instrument, in our case, let's say that this note should not be played by the flute but by the trumpet. I can simply right-click on the note and assign it to another instrument. Also down here in the preview, I can simply move it up and down as I wish. Later, like after this sort of intro, there comes a part where the flute will play a nice melody, and I would like to harmonize this melody. Audio to Score assists me in arranging this by displaying the harmony of these measures. For example, I can click on these and it will show me up here which notes are involved in this harmony. This makes arrangement much easier, of course. Yeah, that's about it for the functions I wanted to demonstrate. Now let me show you how the arrangement looks when I'm done. Okay, so welcome back. I'm pretty much done with this arrangement, and I think we should simply listen to it to give you an idea of what you can do. Okay, that's about it for arrangements. Honestly, you should just give it a try. It's really fun to do. And anyway, let's move on to adaptations. Okay, so let's open the MP3 file that I've prepared for showing you pop song adaptations. This time I will choose pop with the vocals because that is what I have. Okay, now that the recognition is complete, let's first listen to the original.
The moon is high, the stars align, your laughter.
Okay, you get the idea. It's a simple ballad. What I want to create now is a holistic accompaniment. So I will deactivate the vocals because I don't really need them for this. And as instrumentation, I will simply set it to piano. Now, what I can do first is choose harmonic notes, for example, and set the difficulty to simple. Let's see what this does. Okay, so this is, for starters, like a very simple way to accompany this song. Let's pick it up a little bit. Let's choose a more difficult way to accompany this. Okay, this sounds pretty nice already, but if we choose the difficulty difficult, well, this might be a little, well, over the top. Also pretty nice. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I can go to the main program where I will have much more settings that I can change, because this is just a preset. On the bottom right corner, you will find these settings: piano, right and left hand, and I can choose what kind of accompaniment I would like for this specific voice. For example, let's say that on the right hand, I will simply play chords. You see, now he sets the chords on the right hand. And let's have the left hand go 1/8 fan with bass note. Okay, let's see what this does. Okay, not too bad. We have a lot of those, as you can see. Let's switch to something like pop 2. Now, of course, I don't want the left hand playing 8th notes anymore. Let's go to bass notes. Okay, again, we already have a lot of presets, but there's one thing more that we can do, and that is actually recreating what we heard in the original. So to recreate what we heard in the original, I will type this, which means it's an 8th accompaniment, and then I can choose which notes of the chord is played at which time. For example, if I type 2/3, we have the second and the third note of the chord that is played. For example, we have E here, and we have a G sharp and a B. And but we don't want it like this. We want it alternating with the first note of the chord, which is the E. So I add a 1. And that's basically it. And you can build whatever kind of accompaniment you want just with these numbers. There is, like, of course, a lot of documentation how you can enter this. This is too much to go into right now, but as you can see, you have a lot of options. Okay, let's listen to this one more time. Okay, I will fade in the original with the slider down here.
like sparkling wine. The way you glance, it steals my breath. A fire there's nothing left.
Okay, so that's basically it. This is how you can create adaptations. I hope you found that useful. All right, that is it for today. If you would like to try out anything that you saw today, please visit our website. You can test our software as a fully functional trial version for 15 days. Just remember, if you want to purchase the software, please purchase it via the AGO member site to benefit from the AGO member discount. And as I said before, if you have any questions, please use the comment section or send us an email. Okay, thank you for watching and see you next time.